Shalom, shalom. This is Brother Yasharallah coming back at you with another lesson. And first thing I want to do is give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Second thing I want to do is give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. And salutation to you brothers that are pushing this way with you said with charity. I just want to come on here and do this quick lesson, man. Hopefully not be too long, just popping one off before I go to work. And I just want to go into this lesson about putting off the old man, because these Christians, they tell you, come as you are, and, you able to just, come into the church as you are, man, and you don't need to change. And that's false, because growing up, we fed all these false doctrines, we fed all this negativity and just lies. When we come and renew ourselves, we're supposed to be new, man. We're supposed to change. I'm gonna read this. This is 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 2. As a newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. Right, man. So we gotta become babies, man. When you come into this truth, you're fully reborn, man. We walk different, we talk different, everything about us is different, man. And that's why a regular person is able to see that we're different. They can look at us and tell that we're different, man, because we're changed people. We're not like everybody else. I almost got into it with some dude because I didn't smoke, man. And I was at school and, he called me. He said, you got that, what people used to smoke. He was like, you got that on you? And I was like, nah, man, I don't smoke. He was like, yo, that's a lame. And that's what this world promotes, man. It says, folly is set in great dignity. You looked at as a lame for not smoking. But nah, man, when you come into the truth, you got to put all of that off, man. Of course, I'm not going to get into it with somebody just because of what they said. Got to be wise, but, in this truth, man, we literally learn how to do everything again. We're taught completely different, man. We're completely different. I'm going to read this Ephesians. This is Ephesians chapter 4 verse 22. That ye put it off concerning the former conversations, the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust. Right, man? So we got to put off that old man. Become a new creature. Like this next scripture says, man. Because if we come into this truth as the same person, what are we, man? Little niggas. Because that's what if you're not in the truth, man, you a nigga. It don't matter what you think you knew. It don't matter if you thought you was any kind of holy before you came in the truth, man. When you come in this truth, you still have to change. Because there's always going to be little habits that you have from the world, man. Whether it's eating pork, smoking, your love for tattoos. It's all different. Even your hair, man, getting linings. That's something that a lot of people can't stop doing, and a lot of people are going to get destroyed just because they don't want to put down a piece of meat, or they can't put down them linings, man. So we got to put off 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 17. Therefore, if any man be in Yahushua Mashiach, he is a new creature. Old things are become passed away, and all things are become new. Right, man? So it's literally saying, man, and that's where that newborn babes come in, man. Because we're literally new, man. We're literally new people. When you come in this truth and you develop in this truth and you age in this truth, man, you should not be looked at the same by people in the world, man. Your whole countenance should be different. They should see that it's a different beam of light on you, man. My teacher, I gave her a few heres and theres because, she said she came to me one day and was asking me about something because I guess she seen me on YouTube. And she looked at me, man, and she said, "You different," and she said, it's just a different kind of aura on you. You're not like all these other kids in the school. In my school, it's not really a good school, so it's niggas everywhere. Niggas doing nigga shit, and I don't fit into that category with them other people, man. When I'm looked at, I'm not looked at as one of these little YNs walking around, man. I got a different type of aura, and that's how it always should be, man. Even with my teacher who think he deep, he into the Paleo Hebrew. He even said it, man. And that's how every brother, people should walk past you and know that you're a different person from all these other people. Because we gotta be holy, which means separate, man. We gotta be separate from these niggas. You shouldn't look at us, and that's why we don't wear the dreads, because we can't be looked at as one of these little niggas, man. Anytime somebody should walk past you, they should sense that the aura is different from anybody else, man. That new creature, a completely new person, man. A completely new person. Walking in this truth. You gotta learn how to change a lot, man. And like I was saying, even how we walk, we gotta walk more circumspect, more pay more attention to your surroundings. How we talk. We can't just be talking like, we can't talk like these niggas either, man. Our vocabulary is different. The way we look is different. Even the way we walk is different, man. And that's just what I'm saying, man. When you come in this truth, it should always, just wanted to touch on that. I hope this lesson was edifying. And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. Second thing I want to do is give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. And salutations to you brothers that are pushing this word with truth and said and with charity. Shalom, wa kwam yasharallah, wa abba.